iNaturalist. What do you use for your plant ID?
Google search.
Yeah.
Google Lens.
Yeah. iNaturalist is a really good one. I got that tip from Sky Meadows, or no, the Blandy Arboretum. They did a natives walk, and I did their walk with them, and that was the app they recommended was iNaturalist.
A lot of times if I'm looking for, learning trees or learning grasses, I was on the International Range Plant Identification team years ago in college, and we actually went to Reno to compete in this International Range Plant Identification competition.
That's hardcore tonight.
It was like 150 species of grasses and 50 or 60 species of shrubs and woody forbs.
And this was
we had to.
Well, for me, that was before Google.
Oh, way
kind of
before.
Yeah.
It was before cell phones, frankly.
So how did we ever learn anything?
There's this thing called a book.
Yeah, and a library.
And a library.
It was the encyclopedia.
And this odd material called paper.
Yeah.
That they put this funny colored stuff on called ink.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah. I don't know how we did it. I also don't know how I drove anywhere. I mean, I just had the paper maps, you planned everything that way.
Yes. And if you needed directions, oh my gosh, you stopped and asked.
Yeah, there was a lot more of that. That's funny.
What a wonderful trail. You've just got this little patch of wilderness right here in your own backyard that you can make multi-purpose.
I do use it as my inspiration and my rejuvenation. So we can go left here and go around this little block. When I'm sitting still, which a lot of us do with our work, I've been trying really hard to midday, eat lunch, and then I get out, and even if it's just for 5 minutes, just be in the air, move around. It's really helpful.
What does it do for your artistic inspiration?
Well, I mean, it's the foundation of it, really. I mean, being here and connected to the land. I think that's what is the main focus for both my husband and I, is we consider ourselves stewards of this place, and we are connected to it in a non-controlling way. It's actually receiving more and offering back to the land and having a sense of place, which for me, using the pieces of the property that actually come from the property resonates in the actual piece. Whether a person is aware of that consciously or not, the energetics of that is there.
How wonderful.
So it's
now,
really,
which way would you like to go?
we're going to go up here, the top part of the property.
Okay.
I would take you back there, but that is where all the deer live. I had my dogs back in there about 2 weeks ago, and we went through a tick nest. And I've never seen anything like it. It was hundreds and hundreds of deer ticks on all of us. We're not going to go back there today.
That's one of the things that duct tape or masking tape is good for if you get into a bed of what I call seed ticks.
Yep.
I've done that a couple of times in my life. Once.
It was intense, gotta say, especially on the dogs.
Yeah. Once on a finca, which is a farm in Guatemala. I was riding a horse, local horse I had just borrowed, and the horse didn't know how to open gates, so I had to get off the horse, and it was bareback.
Yeah.
Had to get off the horse to open a gate, got in some tall grass, got back on the horse, didn't think anything of it, rode back, gave the horse back to the fellow whom I'd borrowed it from. And we got back to the finca, was sitting around just drinking a beer overlooking the beautiful river, watching the toucans, started feeling like my legs were crawling. And I looked down my shorts, and my God, I must have had thousands of these. They were the size of a pinhead.
Yep.
And I had to get Amy, a friend that we were traveling with, she and I had to go back to the little cabin and take the duct tape.
That's really smart.
And it took about 30 minutes, but...
Yeah. Our vet said to just stick the dogs in the shower to drown them off as much as possible. But yeah, it was... I mean, the deer can have their space, but it was pretty bad. So,
I'll usually, if I get a tick, I'll put a little bit of dish soap on it, because that washes the waxy coating off of them that lets them float and survive. I've had a tick survive with a bubble of air down in the bottom of a cup of water for over 4 hours. I watched it. I filmed it. It was, wow.
They know what to do, don't they?
Well, they're survivors.
Surviving.
Yeah.
So this is actually the highest point of the property. It's about 950 feet here.
Wow.
You can see there's a pick your own farm sort of
Beautiful.
diagonal from us. Sky Meadow State Park is on the other side of that pick your own farm. Technically you could walk there, but you have to walk through another property. So this again is newly planted Albarino, is a white varietal, but you can see the baby grapes.
Wow.
So grapes are self-pollinators. So they self-pollinate. These just flowered, pollinated, and these are all the little tiny grapes.
How amazing.
That are now in
That's so cool.
full-blown growing season. So every season is different, which is also another way that we are have to accept our place with the land and the climate, is that you can't control it.
Right.
No matter how much money you spend on expensive equipment, the bottom line is...
So, is there a time in your life when you've lived in a more urbanized setting?
I went to college. I started my undergrad degree in Pittsburgh at Carnegie Mellon, and then I finished my undergraduate degree at the Maryland Institute College of Art in Baltimore City. My first job was in Baltimore City, although I did commute in. I didn't live in the city, but it was definitely more urban.
Yeah.
But I grew up in the country, so most of my life has been spent in the country, and mostly Maryland. Moving to Virginia, I wasn't sure, but I love it. I love the Virginia mountains. These mountains are just ideal.
Turn again. You want to walk around with me a little so we can
sure.
get a view of the... Hold on,
yeah,
I'm just going to get a view of what's behind us, because this is so phenomenal. I'm going to go up a little bit and come back down to us.
They have a strength. I'm a mountain person for sure. I love visiting the ocean, no doubt. But my core is in the mountains.
Yeah, I spent much of my life, in my early life, in the mountains, in my early adult life, living and working in the wilderness, and but I was out west,
Very different.
so Rocky Mountains, desert, and in that desert to mountain, from the desert to the mountain transition, and I just remember one of the things that I know that I'm really feeling at home is in a place where if it doesn't have fangs, it has thorns. And that's just the predominant characteristic. Look at all these wonderful little honeybees. I'm going to squirrel for a minute because there's clover here. I'm going to go down to and I'm going to see if we can just focus on these beautiful bees just taking advantage of the clover that is the ground cover here, and of course the clover is a good nitrogen fixer, isn't it, in the soil?
We've actually purposely planted in our rows as a cover crop. It stays low, it gives enough competition to the vines, because actually it sounds counterintuitive, but an overly vigorous vine is not actually going to be your best fruit producer.
Right.
You want to stress the vine a little bit so that it's, thinking I have to survive.
And reproduce before I die.
Yes. So it survives by making its fruit as attractive as possible. And so we actually do stress our vines just a tiny little bit to make sure that they are really focusing in on fruit quality. So our vineyard actually goes down that hill a little ways. So this again is about...
Thanks for watching. Can't wait to see you again here on Over the Hill and Into the Wild.